So it took probably like 6 months, I would say, to get our shit together and figure out a name. And Bitch Talk really came out of, we didn't know if we should use it or not. And I still question if we should use it, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But we're like, that's what we call it when our friends and I get together in happy hour. Let's go Bitch Talk.
That was Erin Lim, creator and host of Bitch Talk Podcast. I'm Jeff. Welcome to Storied San Francisco, a weekly podcast where San Franciscans from all walks of life share their stories, and you get to know your neighbors. In this podcast, Erin tells the story of how she started Bitch Talk. Like many projects, it has evolved over time. These days, they're fast approaching their 500th episode, and they've just relaunched a new website along with a brand refresh. Erin left off in part 1 with her first year interning with the Giants. Here's Erin.
But so that was 99, and then I worked 2000 to 2001 in the community relations office. And I just have to say, I love Dusty Baker so much, and always a true gentleman, just always top notch. I loved working with that team. I loved working with Dusty, and just a lot of good guys during that time. A lot of great people at the Giants.
Wait, so you were with them in 01?
Through the beginning of 01, but left.
Oh, never mind.
But not through that season.
Because they were good in 01, but then they made the World Series in 02, right? Okay, never mind.
Nope. Wasn't there. I left. I had to finish school.
But you were still a fan. You were still a fan, right?
Actually,
Or were you a fan?
It's an interesting thing after you leave places like that and they're such a part of your life. You need, at least for me, and I've noticed this with other things, you just need a break.
Yeah.
Because, it's no joke working for a major league, whatever team.
Yeah.
You're kind of living and breathing it every day. And not only are you just working in the office, you're at the games all of the time.
So was your break 2002?
It was 2001. It was 2001 for sure. I don't even think I went to any games. I was like, donezo. And trying to finish school. Mm-hmm. But then after those internships, then I went into TV. And I worked at Channel 2 while I was at Cal State East Bay. Well, at the time it was Cal State Hayward. So I would do the morning shift. I would get there around 3 or 4 in the morning.
KTVU?
Yeah. And then go to school and take a nap in my car, and that's how that worked. And then I worked towards the end of school. I was in school for a little bit, everybody, because I was also working. I was working.
Yeah, you're taking your time.
Yeah, and I
living life.
I worked at Cron when Cron, after Cron and NBC, KRON Channel 4, split ways, but we still had a fun morning show, and I worked with Liam Makelum and helped. Well, during the end of school, I was a PA, and I worked my ass off there. I would work the morning shifts there as well while I was still going to school in San Francisco, and then I'd work the weekend shift too, and just learning how to produce shows. Like
Liam's? Well,
I wasn't Liam's producer, but I did do some segments with him. But I was so after I graduated school, the executive producer of the weekday morning show, Erin Perro, I'll give him a shout out. He's still at Cron. Tapped me and he was like, "Hey, the booking producer's leaving. You want this job?" And I was like, yeah. And man, I got my ass kicked. You're booking segmented news every morning, every day, Monday through Friday. And it was fun. I got to book a lot of cool people, and also you're just looking for stories every day, and
it's like cops and politicians and that kind of thing,
and also authors and comedians and actors. That was mostly my friend Shelley. Got to book a lot of more of the arts and entertainment stuff, but I was more news. So like that's when Gavin Newsom was the mayor of San Francisco, and it was an interesting time because I didn't live in San Francisco yet. So all of that stuff didn't really, like, I knew who he was, and knew the news around him, but I didn't know. I didn't understand the politics really yet because I didn't live here.
It didn't need to mean anything.
Right. It was just like, just get Gavin Newsom on.
Right.
Have him meet with Phil Mateer tomorrow. Okay. At the coffee roastery in the marina, which is still there, by the way. But yeah, doing live shots and stuff.
So then what was it that kind of spurred you to move over to the city?
I went to LA for a minute after Cron. I was offered not a great position, but I was like, well, if I'm going to do LA and think this is the way I want to go, remember way back in that story when I'm like, I want to be that person in black on the red carpet. Like, I have to go to LA.
Yeah.
And I hated it. But I was thankful for a friend of mine. She got me a job. I slept on her couch for a few months, and I was like, I don't think I can do this because I don't care about Paris Hilton that much. And
correct.
And I just didn't care about looking at B-roll of celebrities all day long and talking about them. I just didn't. And I thought I did because that was some of my job up in the Bay Area, but it wasn't all of my job. And so came back up here, and I worked in TV production, mostly for like Core TV at the time, HGTV, and I enjoyed it. It was just producing, and at that time I met who is now basically my creative partner, Angela Tabora.
Also podcast guest.
Has been on the podcast,
yes.
Yeah. And so she and I met a long time ago.
Early 2000s kind of thing.
Yeah, 2000. I think it's 2004 or 5. We might have met. 4. And yeah, we couldn't have been more different night and day because I, at that time in my 20s, just sort of a serial monogamist and always in relationships, and that felt safe. And she was just out and about living her best life and doing it. And so our paths crossed, and not long after our paths crossed, and I moved into the city in 2005, broke up with my boyfriend, and started living that single life.
Wow.
Started living that single life, bitches. Yeah. And had a good time. And in the midst of all of that and living in San Francisco and meeting a bunch of new folks and where do I want to go with this? Meeting a bunch of folks, having Craigslist roommates, like, I mean, the first thing though I should say was I got to move in with my best friend, which it couldn't have worked out better. She was looking for a new place in the city, and I still hadn't moved out of my house. And that story is because honestly, my dad was going through cancer treatment since like a year and a half, 2 years later after I graduated high school. So from 97 through 2007, he was going through cancer treatment, and it would have been weird for me, like, peace out, I'm leaving, right. And good luck. So I finally moved out of my parents' house, and it was fine. I was in the city, they could come visit. I could go to San Leandro any day, and I did. And then in 2007, my dad passed away. It was October. And I remember when he was passing away in the hospital, I was like, man, he didn't really get to live the life he wanted to. He never traveled outside of the States.
Really?
I don't think he ever had a passport. And even if he did, he didn't use it. Oh. And I just remember going like, I gotta live my life. And,
was that kind of your biggest lesson?
Yes.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. I gotta do more. I want to do more.
And that was 2007.
That was 2007. I didn't know what that looked like. So fast forward a few years of, living my life. Ange had left and came back. Is that how that worked? No, Ange had, my friend Angela, who I met in production, moved down to LA. And she was doing this thing, and I loved her for it. She started working in the hospitality industry and bartending and making money, and then she would take off for months and travel on her own. And I was like, that's fucking rad. And I remember there was a time in 2012 she left, and she was traveling through like Southeast Asia. And when she came back, we were at Turtle Tower. In the TL. And I didn't know anything about Turtle Tower until Angela introduced me to that, of course. And she was talking about, she's like, I met this family and I think they're really cool. I really want to do a documentary about them. And they're from Israel. I don't know what this looks like yet. And I'm really into this. And at that time, I was working as a film publicist in San Francisco. And working with a lot of filmmakers and young filmmakers, and just actually understanding that filmmakers are people too.
They're just right.
And it just takes an idea and a lot of work. So she was telling me about this family, and I'm like, this sounds cool. And I told her, I'm like, okay, I'll help you produce it. And so fast forward a year and getting our shit together and doing a Kickstarter, we started our journey on the Nomadic Family Project. And at the same time, my former podcast partner and I had been asked to be on a podcast called Your Straight Male Friend. And I was tasked to, just through people that I knew, they were like, can you find us a bunch of single women that are dating in the city and want to be on, and we'll give you guys mimosas? And I'm like, yeah, of course, duh. And so did that. And my former co-host and I were on that show. And when we came out, we're like, we could probably do something like this because we already kind of do it with our friends. So we're sitting at a bar in the Fillmore after that, recording that podcast. We're like, let's do it. So it took, like, those two trains were sort of moving at the same time a little bit. So the Nomadic Family Project and Bitch Talk, what came to be Bitch Talk. And so at the time, it seemed like the only woman of color that was doing a podcast was Aisha Tyler, who's actually from San Francisco. She's awesome. It was called Girl on Guy. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of like the only thing out there. And we did our homework, and as I still say, the landscape was pretty white and pale. No, it was pretty pale and male. That's it. And so it took probably like 6 months, I would say, to get our shit together and figure out a name. And Bitch Talk really came out of, we didn't know if we should use it or not. And I still question if we should use it, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But we're like, that's what we call it when our friends and I get together in happy hour. Let's go Bitch Talk. So that's why and how Bitch Talk came to be. And
that was 2013.
I think we released our first episode in the summer of 2013. Okay. Sure. That seems
almost 7 years ago.
Yeah, that seems like forever ago. But yeah, I mean, we had some mics. My former co-host was a singer, and she had mics, and she had GarageBand and all that stuff and knew how to work it. Oh, yeah. And we just sat around a kitchen table in Oakland and did it. So
you guys produced it yourself?
Yeah.
In the beginning?
Yeah. Okay. Self-produced. Okay. And then parallel to that was Nomadic Family Project. We did the Kickstarter, and then we ended up meeting the family of 5 in Nepal, and we ended up climbing the Himalayas with them because...
Was that your first trip out of the country?
No.
Okay.
No, I did a semester abroad when I was at DVC in Italy.
Okay.
And before that, I went to Mexico, but I had never been to let's go to Nepal, everybody. That sounds logical.
Right.
But the reason why we did that, the Nomadic Family Project, and meeting them in Nepal, was this family had been traveling for about 3 years at that time, 2.5 years. It was only supposed to be a few months. And they just, they were traveling on a budget, family of 5, and were really world schooling their kids and would land in these different pockets of the world and live amongst people. They weren't trying to be there and taking over cultures. They wanted to learn cultures, and they wanted their kids to be immersed in culture, because that just wasn't happening where they lived in Israel, and they weren't able to spend as much time as they were on the road when they were at home. So Ange had tasked them to be like, tell us like the 3 things, like big things you guys want to do before you go back home. And one of them was, let's do a Himalayan trek in Nepal.
As you do.
And we're like, okay, that's the one we're going to do with them. And so we did that. Yeah, and that movie's still in production because, it's very indie.
Some really good trailers.
Yeah. You can go to nomadicfamilyproject.com and see.
I guess not trailers, but like outtakes.
Well, that was Nomadic Mondays.
That's
yeah, those were fun. But I mean, I would never. Yeah, I hope that Ange and I. It's been a little bit of a traumatic experience for us doing this on our own.
Traumatic family.
Yeah, project. Just because it's her and I really doing it. It's really her editing a ton of footage by herself to make it into a 90-minute movie. Mm-hmm. And it's hard. It's hard if you don't have the funding and or the time, and life happens. But anyways,
quarantine happens,
and then the pandemic happens. But actually now she's been good. No, it's been good. She's editing a lot right now. But yeah, Bitch Talk also is happening at the same time, and it just it's evolved, and it evolved into having a producer about a year or so after.
How did that story happen? Because well, how did you guys get hooked up with Shar?
So I was so the show, this all leads into, its own little story. The show that my previous podcast partner and I were on, called Your Straight Male Friend, had two guys on it, Maddie Stout, who you know, and Marcus Osborne. Those guys came from Alice Radio. And so that's how I knew them. I was a huge fan of the Alice Morning Show around the time. I mean, I had listened a lot forever, but I loved the iteration of when Maddie Stout was the producer, No Name was the dude voice on there, Sarah, and then there was this person called Producer Shar on their show. And so fast forward to like a year and some months after we started Bitch Talk, Marcus and Maddie had a company called Breathe Radio, and they were looking for content for that station. And I was like, I think Bitch Talk should be on there. And so that's how we got teamed up with Shar. And I was a big fan because I remember they actually called her The Boot. That's what they named her. The Boot.
The Boot.
Because she used to get tickets and then booed.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh my
God. I was a big fan of The Boot, and I was kind of fangirling. I'm like, oh shit, like I knew who she was, and she had some radio chops, and she was our producer, and we were live on Friday nights, and it was called Bitch Talk, and we're like, that's sort of where the whole happy hour idea also came from for Bitch Talk. Was we also were on a Friday night at a happy hour kind of idea live on Breathe Radio. And so that's how that all started. And then we started making this Bitch Talk more into a show than just like a podcast around a table. And fast forward, I don't remember how many months, we did our first live event at now what's RIP, the
which one?
Hemlock.
Okay.
We had done our first live event. It was our 100th show at the Hemlock. And I think did we sell tickets? Sure. We sold tickets. I think we sold it out. It was mainly our friends and family and some fans, and had a DJ, Big Russ. We had Angela on the show because we'd had her on the show. We had our friend Dino Ray Ramos, who's now in LA at Deadline, on the show. We also had Reggie Steele, who's a local comedian. He'd been on the show. We'd had Broke Ass Gourmet, Gabby Moskowitz. Gabby
Moskowitz.
Yeah, Gabby Moskowitz on the show. And it was fun, but I learned from that live event, like it can't go too long. It went very long.
Oh,
I'm still thankful for the audience who stayed on a weeknight through a podcasting experience, because it was our first time doing a live event like that. But not long after that 100th event, my podcasting partner, my original one, I could just tell she wanted to leave the show. Mm-hmm. And so she did. And then I was like, oh, fuck, what am I going to do? Because it was scary. And you
absolutely wanted to keep going.
Yeah, we just started doing interviews with like directors and stuff. We just kind of edged our way in, and we just hit 100. Like, just things were kind of starting.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to give it up. So she left, and it's like, well, who's going to be the co-host? Because I didn't want to do it by myself. And so somehow I got Ange to be the reluctant co-host pretty consistently for about a year.
It was guest co-host for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it was it was a running joke. Like she'll admit it herself. She has a hard time committing to things. So, you know, I didn't want to scare her and be like, "You're going to be the co-host of Bitch Talk," but then she is now the co-host of Bitch Talk. I mean, she's been on longer than the original co-host was. So at this point.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, Bitch Talk evolved, and having a producer definitely helps, I think. And just done a lot of cool shit. And, you know, this is coming out, and we have a new website that's debuting and sort of a new brand. And then you actually get to see our faces. And
what kind of spurred the rebranding for you? What brought that on? It's just time.
It's just time.
Yeah.
If we just we needed a little dust off, and we didn't have people don't know what we look like unless you know us.
Yeah.
And I think, especially now during the pandemic, I think now more than ever, it's good to know that it's been a woman of color podcast since it started, but now, and for the last few years, it's been Asian American female led podcast. And people should know that.
I'm going to just venture something, is that you guys went to Sundance 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
After that first,
still tired.
Since that first time, I feel like Bitch Talk has, like, your star has risen. Like, the level of your podcasts has changed.
Yeah.
The podcast itself hasn't changed. It's still, like, the basic bitches are still basic bitches. They're still great. But everything, like all the interviews that you guys have done today. And so for me, that makes sense, that, like, here's a new face, here's a new look and feel for what we're doing.
Yeah. And, you know, the more that we're doing this, the more we're asked to do things that are more forward facing and not just behind a mic, which is also always scary as hell. But yeah, I mean, you know, now for some reason we can call W. Kamau Bell like literally a friend of the show. Like, we joke about that when we have really good interviews, but, you know, he seems to be someone that's pretty much lifting up our podcast, which are the things like I want for this podcast. Mm-hmm. It helps when bigger stars really amplify your voice. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it's becoming something that I've been wanting. I didn't know that I wanted it when we started. It was just like, we're going to do this thing.
Right.
But
happy hour.
Yeah, it was just just a happy hour with a couple chicks. But, yeah, it's interesting. And podcasting has changed so much since we started. And so many people have a podcast. And I'm so happy that they have an outlet. But it's, it's hard to see a lot of people have podcasts I'm just being really honest right now. It's hard to see those people have a podcast and have like 1 million followers when you've been doing it for like 7 years and just trying to crack the surface and say, hey, we're over here too. And we've been doing this for a long time and we're really consistent and we bring you really good shit.
And really, yeah.
And yeah, but it keeps us going because we like doing it too. It's fun. And, if you guys listen to Bitch Talk and you listen to our interviews when Ange and I do them together, we never, ever, ever plan out our questions for our guests, ever. Mm-hmm. Sometimes if it's a huge guest and we're nervous, we're like, okay, these are probably some of the things we're going to do. But other than that, like when you hear us ask questions, it's what each of us have thought of and prepared, and we don't talk about what we're going to ask
with each other.
Never, ever. So it's all very organic, as the kids say. But and that's one of the things I love. Ange and I are just like, we're soulmates in terms of creativeness, and when you find people like that, you want to stick with them no matter what that project is. So I'm not. Looking back, I'm not surprised that she and I now are doing the podcast together because we're just like creative partners through the end, I think. So, yeah. Although she needs to get on social media and it's really bugging me.
So Bitch Talk is basically what inspired this podcast.
Okay.
And I think I just think that it would be interesting for listeners of this podcast to hear directly from the person who inspired it. So I just want to say thank you. And thank you for also doing it. I love Bitch Talk podcast. I love what you guys do. So
thanks. We love it too. It's fun. And I think it's one of those things, whatever happens with Bitch Talk, I hope that there are young girls out there, especially girls of color or Asian specifically, that see us and are like, what is this? And who are they? And this isn't not your typical Asian. Because I wish I had this when I was younger, because who knows what I would have done. And I'm not saying that what I've done isn't great, but to have an outlet like this and know that there are Asian American women doing this kind of work, I hope is inspiring to younger people.
That was Erin Lim. Join us next week when we'll hear from Josh Chuck, director of the documentary film Chinatown Rising. Music for Storied San Francisco is by Otis McDonald. Photography for this episode is by past guest Chloe Jackman. The show is hosted and produced by me, Jeff Hunt. Our website is storiedsf.com, where you can browse more than 100 episodes, check out all of our live events, and visit our store to help support us. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to the show on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If that's Apple Podcasts or iTunes, please do us a favor and rate and review what we do. And if you have any feedback for us or suggested guests, our email is storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and stay safe.